Hey, do you agree that Andy Babbitt did a good job? Do you believe Andy Babbitt did a good job? Because you can't build a life built on lies, Cruz. You should be learning that. You should change your name to Lies, Ben.
See how I did call you a liar?
Change your name to Lies. You called me everything under the sun already. You forgot.
No, I think that
Are you smoking weed right now?
No,
I beg your pardon? Are you smoking weed?
You
I made a black joke?
Yes, and that's why you're smiling when you say it.
Who says that I'm smiling? Are you schizophrenic right now? This isn't audio. Just so that you know. It's projecting.
I can hear it.
Oh, he's projecting.
It's working.
You can hear me smiling? Are you schizophrenic? It's something, do you know what synesthesia is?
Norm, you're old now. Smile when you die. Like
Synesthesia, do you taste colors too?
yeah, I got the Kanye West disease too.
Well, we understand that the ladies understand color. Have you taken your medication today?
Nah,
maybe that's the issue.
I'm free balling, Norm. I'm off some shirts.
Maybe that's the issue. Put on some underwear and take your medication and then have this conversation.
Well, no, it's bad for your balls, man.
Well, I think you need to put it on. I think you need to put it on. I thought I smelled something and now I'm starting to gag a little bit.
Oh my God, you gotta come back. I'm not that vicious. But look,
you're not that smart or funny, is what you're
right. I'm a big bozo. Everyone says so.
I didn't say that. I just said you're not that smart or funny.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, but yeah, so this is just opinion back and forth. We don't agree.
No, we're talking about fact.
We don't even see the same video the same, bro. Do you not realize?
Well, no, it's not that we don't see it the same. It's that you're lying.
Okay, but I'm not calling you a liar.
Well, I'm saying you're lying.
That's just useless. Okay, well,
sure.
No, it's not. I'm good faith enough to genuinely believe that you're just so different than me. You see it different, but you're like, no, you're lying. We will ironically see him post a picture that clearly shows him not being hit, and then the argument that goes.
How can you show a picture of something not happening?
Fucking move the
wait. I'm not understand this. Hang on. How do you take a picture of something that didn't happen? Slow down, Truth. How did you take a picture of something that did not happen? Explain that one.
Oh, this is just fucking disingenuous.
I'm listening.
What?
I'm listening. Show me a picture of something that did not happen.
The picture's proving it didn't happen.
How could a still picture prove something didn't happen?
Do you want to watch the video together?
No. I want you to answer my question.
I know you don't.
Answer my question.
The picture shows him before and after shooting. At no point does the car make contact with his body.
The car hit his torso.
Okay, Norm.
So everybody is lying.
Unless you want to review the tape.
And you can see.
You don't want to do that. So
I've reviewed it 1,000 times.
You're pissing, I'm pissing. You piss further.
Nobody is pissing.
This is definitely a pissing contest.
One
you
person
just want to review the tape.
It's not a pissing contest. Maybe in your mind it is.
So we're arguing about a video, but we're not going to watch it?
No, we're not. No, I stated the fact. You can look at it as many times as you want.
Okay,
look at the one from me. Look at the. No, you're neither one.
Sure,
just ignorant.
Sure. Yeah. I'm right, you're wrong. But I'm the humble one. Okay,
no, so the cop or the Fed agent is shooting with his cell phone.
You know you're full of shit.
You can't even let it out. Now you're being schizophrenic again. Try to put your feet on the ground, both feet, so that you don't pretend that you know what I'm thinking, okay? Or there's some smile.
Okay,
Good. Now you're improving. All right, maybe I can cure you of your madness. So you hear him go, whoa! And you can hear the car hit him. And then you hear the gunshots fire. That's what happened. Watch the video, you'll see it. And by the way, the crime of assault does not require contact. It requires a meaningful, deadly threat, which is kind of obvious. But it's not only against that one cop. There's another cop
assault is death, execution by state.
Who said there's no
so he thought he was at risk. He thought he was about to get bodily injury.
But not only did she commit a crime,
he needed to kill her, or someone would kill her.
Not only did she commit a crime against that cop, there was another cop who had his head and torso and shoulder
protesting
in the car.
You got to put him down, bro. You just got to put him down.
You're afraid to hear this. You can see it on the video, by the way. So I want you to watch the video, and I want you to see the cop that has his head and shoulders and torso in the car when she floors it, causing him to be at risk of severe bodily harm or death, which actually happened to the cop that shot her. And it's indisputable. Not only that, so that's two crimes that she's in the process of committing. And then there's a third crime. And then there's a third crime of her wife saying, drive baby drive right after she uses fighting words to try to fight with the cop. You want to come at me, big boy? Go have lunch, big boy. You want to come at me? You want to come at me?
That was crazy.
Those are called fighting words.
Yeah,
Then she tells her wife to commit a crime, which is assault with a deadly weapon by driving into the cop that's standing in front of the car.
She doesn't tell her to hit him. She says, drive, get out of here.
Well, if you tell somebody to drive while a federal agent is standing in front of the car, that's telling her to commit a crime. But that's not all. If you tell somebody to drive while you're being arrested or detained by a federal agent, and that federal agent has his head and shoulders and torso in the car, you're telling her to cause grievous bodily harm to a federal agent, which is what Rebecca did.
Okay.
Correct.
I already know you.
So she did. Yeah. Okay, neat.
I already know the conservative take. We have all these debates when it was new.
No conservative take. This is just telling you what happened on the video. In case you forgot.
Agrees with you, and you've never found a conservative who disagrees. Okay, Norm. All right.
Neither of those are true.
Oh, so you know conservatives who disagree with you?
Both of those are lies. You said the word never. You lied.
Sweet Jesus.
Yes, sweet Jesus.
Not.
Praise Jesus.
Not all, but most. Hey.
Praise. Keep backing up. Keep backing off. You're pretty soon you'll be back all the way into ignorant land.
Not all, but most is a Trump. Like
I can't follow you. Why did you just say 6'7"? 6'7"!
No, 6'7" is a reference to a guy bragging about committing murder. I think it's pretty deplorable. But no,
I don't think that's what it is at all.
It's literally a song.
No, it's literally not. You're just full of disinformation.
What the fuck did you?
You need to open the book. I said you're full of disinformation.
So what is 6'7"? Norm, educate me. What is 6'7"?
Why do you ask?
Because you just said I was wrong.
Yes, you're wrong.
So it didn't come from a song.
No, I didn't say it didn't come from a song. I said it's not about somebody committing murder, as you just said.
So what do you think it's about? What do you think it's about?
Why do you ask?
Because you just said I'm wrong.
Are you backing up now? Show me how it's about somebody committing murder.
I think you said it knee-jerk.
Show me how it's about somebody committing murder. Show the room. The same thing that you lost on statistics and on the injustice of the rule of law. I want to hear how your mind works tonight.
Before I do, you made the claim. So
yes, I said, no, you made the claim and I refuted it.
No, okay. Listen.
You said you don't want to celebrate somebody who's committing murder.
That's literally what the line is about.
Yes, and I said no. You won't. That's right. So now show me that you are correct. Show me that you are correct. I'll concede it.
Yeah, I'll go get the link for the song and the lyrics.
Good.
This is fucking retarded, but fuck it.
Sure.
By the way, who's the artist? Since you know the song.
Thriller.
This is your type of music?
What is that supposed to mean?
I'm just shocked. I'm not judging. I mean, I don't listen to this shit.
I just proved you wrong. You want to go for 5? I got 3 in a row. You want to go for a big 5 tonight?
Okay, so there's the link. No, you proved me wrong, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I proved you wrong. Let's hear what Skrilla has to say. Skrilla himself has stated the meaning is meant to be fluid and they never actually put a meaning on it. So that's 4 out of 5. What would you like to lose? What's the last thing you want to lose on tonight, Truthy?
Yeah,
Truthy guy.
First of all,
I'm just quoting the guy who wrote the song. I mean, what am I?
Let me see if
hey, that's your kind of music? You white boy? You Jew? Why don't you bring up shekels another time, Truthy boy?
Hey, I did that because you did. Yeah, you started.
Oh, you did it cause.
I
did it cause. I
started it. You know
I did? What did I do? Oh, so in other words, that's your excuse?
Yes, I'm a petty bitch. What?
Oh, well, okay.
What the fuck?
You said it, not me.
Nigga, it takes one to know one.
No, I didn't say you were. You said you were.
Your best friends on this app call you petty and say it's a problem you have.
Never. You don't even know. You don't even know if you could name one of my friends. I beg your pardon.
You said, Norris, one of your problems, you're petty. Stop.
Who said that?
I don't know.
Who said that?
You're
You're just a liar, sir. You're just a liar. You're a common liar.
On everything I
love. Truth, you are a common liar. So you're conceding on Thriller, right?
No.
Right? You're giving up. You're not conceding. So you know what his lyrics mean, but he does not. That's a little bit.
I haven't even seen it.
Now, I said Happy Black History Month, and you made an anti-Jewish slur. So explain that to me. I said Happy Black History Month, and you said that you made.
You said that after mocking my blackness.
I never mocked your blackness. I never mocked your blackness.
I don't know.
Not whatever. I know. I want to learn from you. I want to learn about race from you, Truth. How did I mock your blackness?
I don't remember it verbatim. I just remember.
Just generally, just paraphrase. Tell me
I really don't remember. I can't. It's
so full of shit again.
No, it's been too.
Are you the biggest liar on the app?
You got it.
Truth.
You got it.
You are. You are. Okay. Let's change the topic.
God, please.
Let's change the topic.
Yeah, it's just how long are you having to do this for?
Yeah, can we agree that Trump is the best president we've ever had?
Absolutely.
I don't agree with it. Can we agree that Trump is better than he is bad?
No, Trump is better than Jesus.
You just said that.
I thought Trump was Jesus, but I'm not a Christian, so I'm
No, he's the first
Can we?
president. You didn't hear? He's the first Jewish president. That's what.
Okay, can we agree that Trump has done good with his policies for America?
But this is a racist country, so we'll probably never have a Jewish president. Although we had a black president. But that's, God bless America.
Trump for prison 2028.
They tried a whole bunch of times, didn't they?
Sham doesn't like Trump. I don't think Truth does either.
I think Truth is now reconsidering his entire epistemology after that.
I mean, look, I wasn't a fan of the policies of Mitt Romney, John McCain. I loved Ron Paul in a lot of things, but I didn't agree with him on everything. Trump is a whole different bag of dick. No. It's a big NO from us on the left. Nope. And play dumb if you want. You guys used to be apologizing for him, but now that you know it's his last term, you're like, yeah, suck it, man.
You think he's
I don't know what your apology is.
Do you think he's a pedophile?
No. I think he's a predator, though, and I think he fucks minors.
If he's not a PDF, he's covering up for him.
Normal? You agree with that, Normal?
What's that? The Trump,
that he has intercourse with minors and that he covers for pedophiles.
I said,
this is a sick projection from people who have sexual perversions, and so they externalize it and project it on celebrities. It's a weird part of our culture. They're obsessed with this. They bring it up all the time.
I can't believe I got corrected on rap by Norm.
You can take that to the bank. You can take it to the bank.
That's one of the most uncanny moments of my life.
Yes, it was. And here is the best part. You listen to that music?
Yes, I'm a.
You didn't know about the movie. You didn't know about the movie. You didn't know about the Academy. You didn't know about the Academy Award nominated documentary called Tupac Resurrection. But this is real.
Tupac is different. He's more cerebral. That's not. And also, I know, like.
So you didn't know I produced an Academy Award-winning film about Tupac, right?
I mean,
you didn't know that.
It's one thing to have. It's one thing to have a movie.
I asked you a question. It was a yes or no question. You didn't know that, right?
Didn't know.
Did I produce an Academy Award? Yes.
What?
Yes.
All right, motherfucker. There's your roses. That's incredible. That's kind of.
All right, motherfucker. All right.
You got me.
Afeni was my son's. Afeni was my son's godmother. I can show you the email.
What?
Yeah. I hung out with her on her houseboat in Sausalito. She cradled my son in her arms, held her up to the sky, and said, "You've just come down from heaven where you've been with my son. You have so much to teach us." Yep, that was Afeni.
Bro,
We'll surprise you, Truce. We'll surprise you.
I'm not.
We are Shekel boys.
Bro, my middle name is Aron.
Shekel boys. Your middle name is what?
Aron.
And?
Hey, well, you tell me. Okay, so it's not with the.
My name is Norman. And.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. Wait, Norman.
There you go. Yeah. Could go two ways. By the way, did you check out my NAACP Image Award? I'm looking at it right here. It's on my coffee table. Check it out. You should read profiles. I'm looking right at it.
Norman's a gangster, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty gangster. I ain't gonna lie.
Some people
That explains a
call
lot
him
too.
black
That's why he's so, he's like the street professor.
About everything, but
but he's entertaining. But he's entertaining as fuck.
No, that's pretty dark. So you fuck with Skrilla? Nah, I'm cornier than Norm. Get the fuck out of here. It's fucking crazy. I'm just picturing you rolling through the city blasting that shit. I love it. That's bad.
Hey Norm, did you happen to see the video angle when she put the car in reverse to turn the wheel before she put it in drive?
Yeah.
And her partner was on the other side of the vehicle trying to all of a sudden get to grabs the door handle.
I saw that.
And the car was in reverse.
The door was locked.
Yep, and that puts that person in harm's way too. She's backing up a vehicle, potentially running over even her own partner because she's being irresponsible. These are all little things that get brought up into a case. So, I mean, this is why the people who don't look at the law, they look at the emotion of it and they don't pay attention to what it really states there. And that's why I was saying earlier, it's not about what we see, it's about reasonable perception. The guy who first pulled the trigger might get away in the second shooting. The guy hitting him in the face with the bear mace is not going to get away. That guy's going to jail because you can't hit somebody with something in your hand, So these are the things when you're looking at it, you got to look at, okay, reasonable expectation. Everybody wants to look at it from a spectator's perspective. And I often say this, how many times have you watched the video? I've watched it 50 times. Hey, an officer doesn't get that. He gets 0.3 seconds to make a decision in his life or death. So we have to look at it, and what the law states is the reasonable spot. Now, we also have to remember it says others. It's not just him that could be in reasonable personal bodily or what it is, severe bodily injury, but others. And could somebody back over somebody when they're not paying attention and looking up at their partner getting into trying to get into the passenger side? Yes. So this person was acting unreasonably. And that's why in this case, there won't be charges. It will get dropped. The state will try. It won't go anywhere because of the supremacy clause. The second one will have some charges because you can't hit somebody in the face. They're going to say, we don't know what he was trying to grab when he was pulling, because he jumps on top of that woman and then he grabs her bag as they're pulling her away. Right? Why was he pulling her off of the snow? She was off on the curb. Leave her be. So they can say at that point, they're going to say, hey, we thought he was reaching for something. We didn't know. Okay, he had one gun there. Did we know if he grabbed something else? There's going to be all sorts of things that come into that one. But the bottom line is the guy who was hitting him in the face with the bear mace, he's screwed. Because there's no doubt he violated the law.
Could I chime in, though? Because I think, and this comes from a law school dropout, but I practice in the legal field. So, but I went to finish law school. The one thing that you have the reasonable person is correct, but they don't ever factor in an unreasonable person for the other side. What they do consider, though, is that the other party is withdrawing from the situation, then the reasonable factor does not always stay into play. So if someone removes themselves from an active threatening situation, such as back up the car, trying to turn to alternative ways, yes, he can say, I reasonably thought she was going to drive against and hit me, but he shot as well when she was backing up. So that can be the conflict that may come and to be questioned. Just because he's an officer of the law, they do have sort of implied immunity, right? So he can get away with it anyway. But there is a concern that you can sue based on a civil case if the partner and other people and surrounding witnesses can say that there was intent to withdraw, and the other people can show that. But of course, the victim is dead, so you really can't really prove that point. So it's going to be, I think, a stalemate. But as on the other case, with the bear mace and the gun was removed from him. There was no threat. There was no visible threat at all. And you have the right to carry in a state like that. There was no reaching for the gun. So that one, they're going to lose the case on that.
Okay, Bree, can you tell me what it says about when somebody is attempting to flee and committing a potential felony? Do So you know what it says with Renee Good in that, because when they detain you, when they tell you to get out of the vehicle, you're detained. And if you attempt to flee, you're not withdrawing yourself from the situation. You are considered escalating it.
Yeah, that's if you were an officer of the law. They're ICE officers. They're not necessarily officers of the law. They do have federal jurisdiction.
They're federal officers. They're federal law enforcement by law.
Yeah, they're law enforcement by the federal, but they are not necessarily have the same
I don't think that matters.
jurisdiction.
You
Here's
can
the deal. You're educated on this. I just want to ask you the simple question. What law is supreme to the state of Minnesota? Is it the state law or the federal law?
Well, you notice that I think you're seeing it different. It depends on the jurisdiction of the action, right? Federal law, well, you've got to look at the case, the whole factor. You just can't come up with a blanket just like voting laws. The voting laws, for example, if we just go it up to see what our current president is trying to do, the state has supreme over the laws of which the voting, unless there is some type of evidence to show that there is
melding in this case.
But in this case, depending on criminal elements, right? So
This wasn't the federal law for example.
No, I'm not. You're not letting. You didn't let me finish the entire case or the whole situation, because the supremacy of the federal jurisdiction, yes, can fall into certain cases, but you always have case conflict in terms of state. Yeah. But you can have state also. That's why you have a federacy, right? You have a federacy, and so you have state. You have state laws that may have the right, and that's why you will go ahead and appeal until you get to the Supreme Court that will question what authority was in play and who has rights. But when it comes to certain laws, if it's interstate,
shut up. Seriously, you don't know anything about it.
But
I think you're absolutely wrong. You have to.
states. Hold on, one sentence. I don't take long. Federal or states, you're allowed to run from a cop on foot or in a car, either one, and they cannot just empty the clip on. Bro, that shit is not a thing.
Look up.
It is not a thing. Federal or
Look up Blumhoff 10-second rule. There's 3 court cases. Everyone in the room should know. Go research it and come back and try to have this conversation. Gardner, Blumhoff, and Graham.
Yeah.
All of this is under the Graham test. Blumhoff 10-second rule. Wrong. They can fire. If someone is fleeing, if they perceive danger or danger to the public. In my opinion, there was no Blumhoff here. Okay? But the Graham test is what would determine whether this was justified or not justified. If Bree wants to define what Graham test is, great. She knows what it is. Otherwise,
Yes, I do. But what I'm saying is, I'm not here to justify you. You don't pay my bills, and I get probably a lot more money than you do. The point is that because I'm a professor too, I'm not looking to get my accolades from you. Your little minion world here on here doesn't make me. I don't cry just because you want to have a report.
you're not a professor. You're lying.
No, I actually am.
You're not.
You can Google me. Yeah, you can Google me.
You're not a professor.
Well, I am a professor, but I don't teach. I teach international law. Yes, I do.
You definitely.
At San Francisco State, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Hey, Andrew, can you bring
You're just jealous, so you're
Andrew,
trying to.
can you hear me? Bring it back. Someone who's done is teaching kids.
Well, then, you know what? You've got a problem then. Because then, I'm not teaching kids, I'm teaching adults. Because when they're over the age of 18, and I teach,
Okay, but what is that
my seniors and my graduate students.
You're arguing over bullshit. Defend your position based on the Graham test. You say you know what it is, so defend your position based on the Graham test.
I don't have to defend myself on the Graham test. What I already told you is that doesn't apply. No, I did say that, but again, it's about the entirety of the case. We're looking at the entirety of the case. We're talking about the entirety of the case.
If you claim you know it but can't explain your position on how the Graham test would apply to this case or not, because if you
It would only apply if it's under the Fourth Amendment, so it's objective and reasonably, right? Under the Fourth Amendment, that is it.
The Graham test.
Yes, it does.
What are the 3 check boxes of the Graham test?
I don't remember the whole. I'm not going to.
Because you don't know the Graham test.
Yes, I
You
do
don't
know
know the
it.
Graham test, or you would say the 3 check boxes, and you would be able to give your opinion. And here's what's fucked up is I can make your argument for you better than you can based on the laws that apply, which is Graham, Gardner, and Plumhoff. And if Andrew was just awake,
Dude, you just spent the last 20 minutes researching the shit.
No,
So,
you
you didn't make the case. You didn't
You
make
don't
the
even
case.
know what the Graham
You
test
didn't make the
is.
case. Dude, you didn't bring it up. If you felt so adamant about it, you would have brought it up when you first researched it.
I did.
Oh, come on. The issues that you already know is the severity of the crime, right? But there was the severity. Well, how severe? I said, well, when I told you at the very, no, when I told you, let me finish.
What's 2 and
When I told you at the very beginning, you have to look at the details of the crime.
What's
Right?
2 and 3?
I'm not going to go through the other ones. And then
Because
you already know about the threat and as well as.
Because you don't know it.
But one of the pieces is their
Because you
active
don't
resistance.
know it.
I didn't think Good was resisting, so you can't win on the case because Graham didn't. Good didn't
You
resist.
don't even know the next 2 check boxes. You can't
Yeah,
even
there
make
is.
your
And
argument
it's
based on
split
the test
second
that
response,
applies.
dude. There's 4. Didn't you say 4?
No, there's 3.
No, there's 4 actually.
No, there's 3.
No, there's 4 actually.
Okay, the
There's
name
4
is
Graham factors. Google it.
I have Googled it a long time
No,
ago.
you didn't.
Tell me.
No, it's 4 Graham factors, dude.
You're telling me there's 4. You can't even name the 3. Okay.
No, I can't name 3. The severity of the crime, the immediate threat, active resistance, and split second judgment, right?
Nope.
Whether you are tense and you're so dude.
That's not the
I'm
Graham.
not. No, that's 4. What
That's
else
not
do
the
you
Graham
want to do?
test.
And
That's
in
not
the
the Graham test.
dude,
You have
those
no
are the
idea what the Graham
elements.
test is.
Why don't you learn it in your first year?
That's not the
Law
Graham
class?
test.
No, it is the Graham test.
It's not. There's so many
It's the
check
Graham
boxes
test.
to the
There's
Graham
4
test.
factors in the test.
She just Googled this, now she's.
No, I'm not gonna argue. I don't Google it.
You guys are
No, you know what? I went to Thomas Jefferson. That's why I'm Thomas Jefferson.
Andrew, wake up.
Andrew, bring Abby.
Jefferson in San Diego is not the best law school.
I told you it wasn't the best, but I definitely went to Boston University and I went to other schools. So, dude, I'm not worried about it. I'm not trying to prove my love. I work at one of the best top companies in the nation, in the world. So I'm not sweating shit.
So then you would explain that actively resisting or fleeing is.
Finally.
But I did say that though. I said that at the very beginning when I got on the stage. This is withdrawing.
Why don't you go through the fact pattern and then try to apply the law?
That's very true.
Okay.
The facts
So let's do
pattern.
it.
And
Let's do
I don't know the whole
this
fact pattern of the
Socratically.
case.
But hold on. Let's do this Socratically. Let's go through the fact pattern and then let's cite the law and then let's apply the law. Okay. So in the fact pattern, which case do you want to take? You want to take the second case? You want to take the case where you have someone who is approaching them
Yes.
and he has a weapon on him and he is approaching them with force when he's approaching them, correct?
In that case, he wasn't approaching with force.
Yes, he was.
He was approaching with force. He went within the sphere, within the area,
He was
the
approaching
boundary area, and he
And you have to
approached
define
with
with
force.
force though, because you have to have the elements of with force because he
You
didn't have the gun,
don't have to
he did
have the
not show
elements
the gun,
before.
he did not intentionally, you have the right to carry in the state.
He didn't. It's what's in the mind of the officer at the time.
The gun wasn't
what's
visible
in-
at the time.
It's what's in the mind of the officer at that
Abby, you need to
time.
understand something. Bree has been reading Twitter, and
No, I'm not reading Twitter, I'm
she's
watching,
got a
I
lot of
watch
experience
videos.
reading Twitter, and
You
repeating
just
it.
let Abby go here. Just let her.
I'm just letting her know when you.
It's what's in the mind. In this scenario, okay, the police use force. They have to objectively have a reasonableness, and based on Fourth Amendment, and it requires them evaluating the force based on their perception of the scene, what they see. If the police see this person approaching them with force in their mind, in their perception, they then can have the reaction that they had. Your argument is the guy just came up friendly to them. He breached an area, a boundary area, and he presented in their minds reasonableness, and they hit the standard that they have to hit for them to, in that split second period of time, and we want to go pursue it to Graham versus Connor, then in that split second or 10-second or whatever the period of time, they made that determination. What he's
Could I chime in before that? Because that is at that split second. The guy was, by that time, if he was considered a reasonable threat, he was on the ground, right? And proceed with force. We're talking about that. By that time, they've already disarmed him, right?
No, they
Well, they don't know yet. First of all, you don't know when he disarmed, when he got disarmed. Number one, you don't know if they had reason to believe he had a second weapon. They didn't know how many weapons. When someone comes up with a weapon and they're aggressive with officers, there's reason to believe that he potentially will be harming those officers, whether it's the gun in the back or another gun.
He was disarmed by the
reasonableness to believe
his hands were showing. He was on the ground. They shot him in the back.
You're missing this. They have reason to believe at that point in time that he presents harm, and they have to at that point act. If you're going to say he mitigated it by caring about the woman, or I mean, what else was in that fact pattern? He didn't mitigate it. I mean, he approached them with he didn't softly approach them. He approached them aggressively. So look at the
grabbed his hand. So he was going to aggressively shoot them with.
So the severity of the crime is that he had a weapon when he was going at police officers.
And the phone was the weapon because the gun was invisible.
No, the weapon was on him.
No, it was in the back pocket, and you were about to.
Like he had
video. You can see the weapon exposed earlier in the video from another angle.
Okay.
They might have seen it.
That's speculating. That's conjecture.
He proposed an immediate.
That's conjecture.
He proposed to me. It doesn't fucking matter if you think it's conjecture. If the officer thought it was conjecture, that's the point. It's what's in the mind of the officer. If it's reasonable that the officer could have had that conjecture, that's the standard.
Mind of the officer.
So the second thing is that the suspect posed an immediate threat. That he actually posed the threat. The reality was he did pose a threat. And whether the subject was actually trying to resist arrest. Was he trying to resist arrest?
It also has to do with what a reasonable officer makes the same move in the same circumstances.
Can you also breach the topic of, yes, you are allowed to carry, but only for lawful purposes?
Hold on.
Exactly.
Can you back me up on this? Because
He was recorded.
if you look up the legal definition between protest and riot, that actually changes as soon as any group of people creates threats, violence, vandalism, interferes with officers. There is a very small window.
That's right.
Once that happens, guess what happens? Your 1A and 2A go out the effing window. You just changed it to riot, and therefore you are not legally allowed to be carried, which means you should remove yourself from the position in the area. He should have left, put his gun in his car, and then came back. You are required as a gun carrier. Now, I'm gonna stand on this as a leftist. I am anti-2A, and you shouldn't have a gun. Oh, there was a violent situation, and he had a gun. He deserved to get shot. That's how I've heard it before, posed. But here's the real situation. What we really shouldn't be saying, and most people would say, is it started to get violent. He should have taken his gun to his car and removed that gun, because things can get out of hand and escalate quickly. That's what should have been done by law. And when you're a carrier,
So much bullshit, bro.
you ever been to a USP carrying class? They will fucking tell you when an officer comes up. Do you own a gun,
I
Sam?
don't give a fuck, bro. I have guns on my leg. I can get a gun if I want to right now.
Common sense. I'm telling you what the fact is. I'm telling you what the fact
You're
is.
also missing the bigger component is jurisdiction here. He's a federal officer. It's a federal officer in the act of a federal duty. Did you hear what I just said? It's a federal officer.
I'm not going to dispute whether
In
it's a federal officer. or the
May I
federal
finish? It's a federal officer.
I'm not disputing that.
In the act of a federal duty.
That's not my
Where in
like
wild world of sports, where does the state get jurisdiction? Tell me where. Federal officer in the course of his duty, as in his job as a federal officer.
You can always contest it. We were talking about that.
How?
I'm talking about it in the case of the voting rights, right? You have the constitutional rights of the state, separation of power. So
That's irrelevant to a
no. I
supremacy clause
brought
here.
it up because there's no blanket rule of the federal government always having supreme, except for in certain parts of the
There is most certainly
No.
amendment to our
You, for
Constitution.
example, if I make my voting rules, you can't override my voting rules of the state.
They can if they decide to.
Can if they decide to.
Unless you got
Absolutely.
permission from Congress.
You were sent to
That's federal, but the federal have the right to override. If it's, you're the state, sweetie.
But you have a balance between state and
What's your
federal.
name, right, Bryce?
No, you have
Listen,
a balance.
the
We know
state
that the federal
has,
court
state under the 10th Amendment has the, let me just get this out. The 10th Amendment
You can
is
always
granting the state the policing power for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. Okay, their governing power, health, safety, and welfare. However, it's subject to the supremacy clause if it
True,
conflicts
the
with
supremacy
the
clause right there,
Supreme.
but I'm still going to the point of the voting rights. But in terms of
Any of these laws, voting, it could be health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. If they do something that is contrary to the
so you're
federal
making the
law,
argument then of an authoritarian government,
the state
and which they feel that if they're going to riot, then coming this upcoming election, then the federal government has the right to go in and just usurp all authority of the state, right?
Well, hell, didn't JFK do it? Didn't JFK send in his troops to do exactly that and take over the school system in Georgia? Or then in
He didn't
Little
stop an election, though.
What is the difference of
I'm
going
just using
in?
that as an example. He used that for the integration.
But an election, if you decide you want to have a bunch of non-citizens go to the voting polls,
I love you as a conservative.
and the feds want to come in and clean up the voter rolls in a state, because the voter rolls in the state are
You've got to prove that you have to have objective
non-residents
evidence.
and not.
You can't have conjecture. You have to have objective
We
evidence.
do have evidence. My state cleaned 150,000 names off the voter rolls in the last cycle. 150,000, and we're a small state. So you absolutely have reason.
11 times presidents have actually sent federalized troops.
Thank you.
So just like 11 times.
Little Rock.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rock.
Kennedy did it, then Clinton did it, Johnson did it.
Washington, Lincoln,
Yeah.
Biden did it at the Capitol.
Yeah, supremacy clause doesn't go away.
I never said it went away. You can always, if there's a gray area, you can. For example, when it comes to the voting, but yeah, the supremacy clause does overrule. But in the case of certain rights, human rights, and if it goes against or citizens' rights, then citizens'
rights. So what do you mean by citizens' rights? The power of the state to control the health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah, but if it's, for example, if it
offends
my First Amendment rights, my freedom, as well as my Second Amendment, then we can go ahead and that's why you have the right to petition when there's situations like this, right?
I don't understand what you said. Say that in English.
No, what I'm saying is that the supremacy clause, yes, we have the state over, you have the federal over the state, yes. But when you're citizens of your state, either don't have due process because of the issues as it relates to their First, Second Amendment, whatever amendment we want to go through.
If they don't have a due process, with what respect? Give me an example.
Due process, let's say.
I know what due process is, but give me an example of what what is happening? Give me
I can give you a fact pattern in terms of
the youth
citizens that are not getting
will kick in to only be the state.
or U.S. citizens, but do not have.
Oh, here we go.
I want to give you the
Here we go. Is that your only example?
You asked for an example. I didn't ask you to judge it or question.
So that's your only
No, I'm just
example
giving
you
you
have?
an
Well, that one's an easy
I'm
one.
just giving you
That
an
one's an easy one because they're committing a federal
Are
crime.
they considered committing a federal crime by
Yeah,
protesting?
absolutely.
Don't they have the freedom of assembly and to protest though, don't they?
Are they non-citizens?
No, I said U.S. citizens that are held.
Wait, you didn't say that.
I did say that.
You're saying a U.S. citizen.
U.S. citizens. I didn't
Okay,
say
slow down,
non-citizens.
sweetie. A U.S.
No, don't call me
citizen.
sweetie. I'm not your baby.
Honey,
I'm not your sweetie.
honey, is that
No, I'm
U.S.
not your honey either. You're
A
domestic.
US
We don't
citizen.
need that. Yes,
Is
he's in the U.S.
Somebody sensitive.
No, I'm not sensitive.
Yeah,
You were sensitive
She
earlier.
was doing it in a considerate way.
No, but I don't like
You're doing it in a
sweetie.
different way.
No, that's no.
Sweetie, I've been telling you the law, reading it from
Yeah,
the book.
I'm reading the law.
I'm trying to, Fema, I'm trying to.
Let them have their conversation.
I can't get her to see this. You've got to, when you talk about law, don't talk in abstract. You have to talk in specifics.
Well, I gave
in
you the
order
case.
to illustrate
I
it.
do.
So now your hypothetical is a U.S. citizen that is getting detained incarcerated for protesting. No, stop for a second. Hold it. You have a U.S. citizen that is being detained and being incarcerated as a result of protesting on behalf of the movement to get rid of ICE. Is that what you're saying?
I would say yes.
So that's your fact pattern.
They're not impeding their.
Wait, hold on, slow down. Is that your fact pattern? A U.S. citizen out protesting against ICE being in the country, and they get arrested and get detained or incarcerated. They get incarcerated.
Yes.
Okay. So what is your concern about that? What's the problem?
That's where I'm saying, as a citizen of a state, let's say I'm a citizen of the United States, but also a resident or a citizen of Minnesota. I am now illegally, you break down my door because ICE agents they are not issued. They do not have the authority into your house.
So wait, you're out, hold on. Are you outside at a protesting?
Well,
where are you?
There's two things. You can protest and you can go to your home. Let's just give you the scenario. Or you're out there in public and you're detained and then they confine you.
You're out in public.
And then you are detained. That's my
You're out in public. Are you with a gang of people shouting? Are you banging on cars?
No, you're not doing anything that is destructive.
So what are you doing when you're out protesting?
You're expressing your First Amendment rights.
How?
You have the right.
I know what your rights are, but how are you expressing yourself? Give me your facts. Get the facts.
Your facts is that you're holding a sign.
You're holding a sign outside.
And you're telling, hey, you're not wanted here. What else do you want?
You're holding a sign saying you're not wanted here and you're outside protesting. Now I have a question. Was that protest a permitted protest? Was it permitted? Was it permitted? Let me finish.
Okay.
Was it permitted under time, place, and manner restrictions under our law?
Many of the protesters are not going to be permitted, right? Because
no, actually you're wrong. It's a very strict level of scrutiny to deny.
It depends.
May I finish?
Yes.
You asked a question. They actually use the highest level of scrutiny in order to, in any way, limit a protest. However, a protest still has to be within the confines of time, place, and manner restrictions.
That's true.
And manner restrictions, because of what I said earlier, the issuing authority is protecting the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens. So a protest has to have some limitations, and they get permitted. So you're now outside holding a sign, I assume with other people around you. Is it a permitted protest? Is it at the right time of day, or is it in the middle of the night? Is it in the middle of the street? Are you chaining yourself to streets? Are you blocking traffic? What's the manner that you're protesting? Are you protesting in a manner that will be an obstructed manner for the free flow of commerce that day? So those
First of
are
all,
things.
a protest
Do you
does not
understand
have
what I'm
to
at?
be
Does
legal.
anyone else want to jump?
No, I'm going to chime in because a protest doesn't have to be submitted to be legal. You didn't let me finish real quick. A protest does not need a permit to be legal. As the First Amendment protects your
It
right
most
to speak.
certainly does.
No, it
most
does not.
certainly
It
has.
protects your right to
Ways.
peacefully assemble. That is what it does.
Does the government have a right to? Does the government have a right to time, place, and other restrictions?
The government can require permits for certain types of public events.
Somebody else want to take this?
Well, I just looked this up, and I mean, maybe this is wrong, right? It's an AI overview, but it says you generally do not need a permit for small protests on public sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Well, okay, if you see, I thought I was reading you as implying that every protest needs.
No,
you were implying that.
If you're 5 people,
No,
but if
you were implying. I did say.
Hold on, let me read the official, okay? First Amendment protects the right to free speech and peaceful assembly. City regulations, Minneapolis, law requires a special event permit for assemblies that 1. Use city streets or sidewalks in a way that impedes traffic.
Thank you.
2. Occupies parks or public property beyond ordinary use.
Thank you.
3. Include amplified sound or large gatherings of 50 people or more. This is consistent with U.S. Supreme Court precedent, e.g., Ward versus Rock against racism in 1989, which allows time, place, and manner regulations as laws as they are content.
Hold on. Contradicting. Wait, no, this is
It's not kind of. You can have your little group of people, but if your little group of people decides to take out drums and trombones in the middle of the night on a street that people live, it's time, place, and matter, and you will be arrested.
Okay, but what's the upshot of this? Like, what is Brian Vela trying to get to? Like, the point
I don't know. I'm trying to explain how the law
I
works.
feel like you're asking for a lot of detail that may not be necessary, right?
No, I'm asking. No. Because if someone gives a
He's
scenario,
try to prove me wrong.
I'm not trying to do that, Bree. That's actually not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you. I'm doing. Everyone quiet. Everyone quiet for a second. I am trying to do something. Just let me say it.
No, I'm trying to moderate here. Look, you guys can have this conversation. I'm just trying to understand the point that Brian Vela is getting to, right? And depending on that, like, you can ask for a bunch of details, right? The details might be relevant. I'm not saying they're not relevant. I'm just saying, let's see what conclusion is she trying to draw? Like, what point is she trying to make about this hypothetical, right? Before we get hung up on the specifics. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
My point was that when a U.S. citizen can get detained, and the intent was she wanted to drive out what condition does the U.S. citizen need to have around them in order for it to possibly not be legal or legal, so that the federal government, if I understand your intent, because my scenario was to show that there are situations where due process is not followed and U.S. citizens are being detained by ICE. That is a fact. And that the First Amendment right and Second Amendment right, such as the right to carry, etc., has been violated.
I believe that her first statement when she got here was, "Let's be Socratic." Are you sure?
That's what she said.
Trying to do that.
She did say that.
I think you don't know what that means.
But he doesn't want to have a Socratic method. It takes up too much time.
And then at the end of it, you look at where you end up, and then either you disagree or agree. But if you don't answer the questions to end up somewhere, then you can't get there.
That's true. That's what I said.
I was trying to get you to define in the actual definition of the event and be clear on the specifics of the encounter and the event, not in the abstract. So when you can break it down to the specifics, you can then see whether there was a denial of a due process or right. But you have to define the case study.
Yes, but there's so many right now.
But you
and I
aren't doing that.
understand
You're
right
talking
now.
in the abstract.
Yeah, but I think I'm looking at a lot of the cases where I do feel in this parliamentary.
Look. Now we know what conclusion Ray Vela has got. What specifics do you think might be relevant here? I mean, like,
What I think would be relevant is the behavior of the victim in those scenarios, whether the victim was in their law right, protesting, they were protesting either at a permitted protest, or it fell within time, place, and manner. If the victim, whoever was ultimately harmed, did anything that caused a provocation, and if the provocation was something that crossed the line, that then in the mind of the officer, there was a threat. And you just have to go through who did what, who's what, when did they do it, what time of day did they do it, how did they do it. Those are all questions. When you have someone make a blanket statement, someone's denied the due process, I will never just accept a statement like that. I gotta break the fact pattern down.
Okay,
I'm sorry, that's how. And by the way, that's how you should all think.
Yeah.
When you hear these things, you should break it down.
Look, okay, Brian, you've heard like the criteria that Abby was using, right? Do you think you could point to like specific cases where you think a reasonable person or maybe an understanding of the law?
Yeah, my understanding of law, and we'll go back to the Alex case. Yeah, I'll go back to the Alex case because I mean, my concern largely, and Abby, I love you again. I love your insight on what the officers were perceiving, but from your fact pattern, it appears that I when you look at it, and to Alex and those who were around, he did not approach with force, and again, that is yet to be determined because according to his attorneys and other people's attorneys, there was no force involved. He was holding a camera. So a recording, according to the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, right? You can record, you have the right to record a police or federal agents, ICE and CBP in public places, as long as you're not physically interfering with their work, right?
Okay, so quick question for you. Just looking at this, was there any interaction between the officers prior to that time when he approached them out the street?
Not physically interfering with the work like that.
Yes, there actually was. You can see the video. Another video shows him being pushed onto the sidewalk and told basically to stay out of the street. Now, he has no legal authority to direct traffic or anything. He has no authority to intervene and come within close proximity of these people carrying out their duties. And so therefore, that is a breach of their security. Now, I'll ask you this. Whose obligation is it to keep every citizen, federal law enforcement, and the people protesting safe? Whose job is that? That would be the Minneapolis Police Department. They were on site. Okay? So they failed their obligation there. So they should have been there.
Agent here. All right, I'm going to report over for you from here in this room.
So here's the deal. He then came back out on the street, then interfered. Now, if you go and you look at the areas of the law, it literally talks about assault, threats, resistance to law, to federal authority, interfering, intervening. These are all things that are all facts if you look at the law. And if you look at the law, these are the things that are going to matter in the case. Now, he had an interference before. He was told to stay on the sidewalk. He ignored them and came at them again. Okay? So this man has a history of defying authority.
Which would then put in the reasonable mind, which puts in the reasonable mind of the officer that he is a potential threat.
Absolutely.
Because they've had a history now of his behavior. I mean, it's just...
In Abby, there's threats. They literally show video footage of these officers being told, drop your badges, I'll fucking kill you. basically
No.
in the street saying they're going to kill him. Which is that's enough. Once the threat happens,
So they're being charged with, officers being charged with the crime.
Oh, yeah.
May I finish? His actions mitigate the possibility of a crime being committed by them because his actions mitigated it by having the prior threats. There you go.
Well, but there is excessive force, which is the Fourth Amendment.
How do you determine excessive force?
Because when you look at it, they forced him to the ground, and again, he claimed self-defense. Other people,
They should have forced him to the ground, and when they shoot, they should shoot as many fucking times as they have to kill the person.
Okay,
That's what
it
they're
shows
supposed to do, and that's what the
again,
Supreme
excessive
Court has
force,
said.
because even though he had a gun,
It's
and there was
fucking
no
times, but
reasonable.
it's so dumb.
Yeah, but I think there was no perception because he had both of his hands were occupied. So he had the phone in his hands. If you looked at the video, right? He was unarmed, even though he had the gun in the back of his back area. There was no.
So he was not unarmed.
There was
and
no
did they
reasonable
know
threat.
if there was
He
a
was
gun
being
in his
pepper
sock?
sprayed. He was being peppered sprayed, tackled, and he was pinned to the ground at the time he was shot.
He was not pinned to the ground. He was resisting.
He was on
He
his knees.
was on his knees, and we don't know if there was a gun in his ankle, a gun strapped around anywhere else.
Okay, so has anybody in here, and I'm guessing you probably haven't, Bree, but if you've wrestled, I mean, we could say get in a fight, wrestled, been in a fight, been in a situation where you're in close quarters with somebody. Are you privy to seeing what happened to his hip? Are you privy to seeing the gun on his hip? Because most of the officers didn't see the gun. Why?
There were several officers. There was the officer that took
I
it.
let you go.
Okay.
Please let me finish.
Okay.
So, do you know what their standards are for what they're allowed to do? How many people can be on per limb? When they're on that limb, are they privy to see what's on his ankle? Are they privy to see what's on his hip? No. If I'm on his left side and I've got a hold of his leg and I'm trying to get this guy on the ground, and I can't get him on the ground. Four of us can't get any guy on the ground and spread him out, even on an icy road, right? What I'm looking at as an officer is I see him. I'm on the left side. I am protected from the right side. I can't see that. What you watch? We're watching it from a spectator position. And what you need to do is a reasonable position of the officer. Okay. Now I'm on the left side, right? All of a sudden, I hear gun, and it is a split second later. The gun misfires. What he hears, I'm on the left side. I hear gun. I know all of us have a gun, so we're not going to yell, we have a gun. When we hear gun, we're thinking guy on the ground has a gun. I hear gun, I'm on the left side, I hear a discharge of that firearm. You're going to tell me that a judge is going to be like, you should have waited to see if that was a gun in his hand, because if you look, he did reach back to the right side. He didn't grab it, it was gone. But it doesn't matter. If I'm on the left side and I'm protected from seeing that, I have to act reasonably to do what? Protect myself and others. But say he fires the gun and misses me, but he shoots somebody on the sidewalk. Are you going to say, well, they were beating him up and it was an accident, he shot them, or is he going to be charged for firing that gun? I'm going to go back one step further and go, what are the legal requirements for you as a gun toter? You're carrying a gun concealed, and a riot, because that's what my law is. There's violence, there's threats, and there's intervening and interfering with the officers. All of those things lead to riot. What are the legal requirements at that point to remove yourself, the weapon, from the scene? So these are the things that you have to look at, Bree. So now I'll let you go, and you can try to tear apart the legal ramifications of what I just said that hold it to a certain standard.
Well, there's a certain standard, first of all, for officers of the law to have a duty to de-escalate, right? Even though you have a reasonable fear, I understand the reasonable fear, you still have an obligation to de-escalate, right? So when he's on, excuse me?
You asked me right, so I'm going to say absolutely. I agree with you.
If you have
to
time
de-escalate.
to do it.
But when they try to de-escalate, he grabs the woman and he drags her in the street while they're pulling him off of her.
I disagree with that narrative because I think we have to see the. I'm sorry, I'm not going to. I understand, but you've got to look at the timeline and the timing of that, because at what point you can look at a video and look at the reasonable fear, right? And at which Reasonable
fear of who? For him or for the officer?
No, for the officer. You can see, you can look at that, but you can also look at you got to look at the fallacy that is the cell phone versus weapon fallacy. Because first of all, he had a cell phone, but he had a weapon in the back. He never touched the weapon in the back, ever. He had a jacket. You can see you saw the shirt go up and you saw the gun and they circled it when you saw it multiple times, right? But his hand was never reaching towards that is a fact. And there is no other factor towards the reasonable fear at which the officer must distinguish between the defensive posture, which is okay, and an offensive threat. And from holding the phone in his hands, there was no offensive threat.
That cell phone was a pocket rocket. And did you guys see the video that was prior to him being unalive, where he kicked the police car?
Oh yeah, that was like a week before.
Yeah.
Ice, you left out something about the facts of the case. The CPD was brought in to do crowd control because ICE was in the donut shop trying to apprehend somebody, and the protesters were blocking ICE from leaving the donut shop. That's what spawned this whole thing. And we don't know what happened prior to the video rolling in complete detail, but CPD was there to do crowd control. The chances are a reasonable person could understand there was probably some encounter between the people there brought in to do crowd control and the crowd at the donut shop that was further down the street on the corner, and they were pushing them away from that corner and had been for a while. So something probably happened before this video started rolling.
Wait, so can I just read out the Wikipedia? Hang on, I've been hearing a bunch of things about how the incident happened, and honestly, I don't really think one incident is what our focus. As a country, we just as people, I guess, we just focus on individual isolated events, and it's the whole thing that matters. But since we're talking about this, right? Look, here's the story according to Wikipedia, right? I don't know. I feel like this is contradicting some of the stuff I've heard just now. So a video shows Peretti recording agents alongside two other civilians when two agents walked into the street to confront them. One agent pushed a civilian wearing an orange backpack 28 seconds before the first shot was fired. Yeah. Peretti moved towards the sidewalk, attempting to help two others being pushed by agents. Peretti stood between the agents and a woman being pushed, quote-unquote, briefly putting his hand on the agent's waist, and was pepper sprayed by the agent. Peretti held up his hands with one hand holding his phone and the other held up to protect himself from being maced. Peretti reached to wrap his hands around the fallen woman, apparently trying to help her out. An agent shoved Peretti, and Peretti and the woman fell, still embracing. According to the New York Times, Peretti then tried to pull away and made no threatening movements towards the agents, who pulled him backward and forced him to the ground. Peretti was restrained by several agents on the ground with both of his arms pinned down by his head. The agent then pepper sprayed Peretti, hit him with the pepper spray canister multiple times. Wow. Another agent in gray removed Peretti's firearm from his hip. A third agent, who had been focused on trying to pepper spray the fallen woman and had his back to Peretti, turned around to Peretti after hearing someone yell that he had a gun. Around 5 seconds later, the third agent drew his weapon and shot Peretti at close range, with his arm visibly recoiling in recordings of the event. There's a little bit more. When the first shot was fired, Peretti's gun had already been removed by an agent in gray, and the shooter was standing. This is just recapitulating the salience. The shooter also had the sight line to see that the agent in gray had removed the gun, but it is unknown whether he witnessed the removal. Fired 3 more shots into the back of Peretti, who appeared to brace himself against the pavement with one hand. Peretti collapsed, and then the two agents had fired a total of 10 shots in 5 seconds.
Okay, but where it's wrong is his hands were not restrained. He was on his hands and knees. There was one point in time in which his hands were restrained. He was moving away. He pulled his hands out of the officer's hands, and he was moving. He was not prone on the ground. He was not complying. He was
I thought he said that he was not resisting. I thought his voice said he was not resisting.
I mean, I don't know. I probably resist the person banging me with a pepper spray can and all that, I guess.
Be prone on the ground with your hands and legs spread. That is not true.
With the pepper spray canister, you just sit and take it like a man.
So,
I can tell you the source where it says Freddie was restrained by several. So you're disputing this part, right? Freddie was restrained by several agents on the ground.
I've
with both
watched
of his arms pinned down by the
every
head.
angle of the video, and there are times in which his hands are restrained. There's times in which they're not. There is a time after his hands were restrained where his hands were not restrained. It happened at the same time that the guy hit him in the head with the mace can. He was not complying. He was resisting arrest in every video I've seen.
You're saying two different. You're making two different claims here. One is that there was some point in time at which his hands weren't restrained. I'm not sure what the relevance of that is exactly. And the second is that he was resisting arrest. I mean, what do you mean he was resisting arrest? He's down on the ground, right? He's gotten pepper sprayed. He's getting hit on the head with
Have you ever seen a high-speed pursuit? What do they tell him to do? At the end of a high-speed pursuit, they get you prone on the ground. You're flat on your stomach. Your arms and legs are spread in what they call the prone position. He was on his hands and knees.
No, you're not answering the question though. In what sense?
Watch the video closely, and you will see exactly what I'm saying, which is at one point in time, his hands were restrained by two of the officers. After that, his hands were not restrained, and he was moving around. He was not pinned. He was not prone. He was resisting. He was moving. That is technically.
William, how can you differentiate?
Let's just get this. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Deepak. How can you differentiate? I don't know. Have you ever been jumped before by more than one person? When you're being jumped, right? When there's more than one person coming at you, there's a fine line between protecting yourself from not getting hurt from everything that's happening, and then you're not how can you differentiate him and say that he's resisting versus trying to protect himself? We already saw and know that he was trying to pick up the woman. We saw the pepper spray happen, right? Pepper spray, that's in your face, that's one thing. And now all of a sudden resisting would be fighting back. He was bracing down because he was getting jumped. And you say, you can't differentiate that. That's your points. A lot of things are happening. Anybody is going to rightly protect their body parts, their limbs, their face, their structure. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't punching and pushing, right? Resisting by bracing down to protect yourself by a bunch of external pressures who just, I don't know.
Right. Let me jump in. I have a question. I've been waiting for a while. I like to jump in.
No new questions. No one thing at a time. No.
We're talking about the same shit, bro. It's the same shit.
Yeah. Then just jump in. I have a question and you say something.
Yeah, but I've been waiting for a grip. I've been real polite. I've allowed everybody to the front.
Please keep it up.
Thank you. Would you allow me to speak? Let me know when I can speak.
Yeah, it sounds like he doesn't want to be on topic. I don't know. You want to go ahead?
Dude, you're weird. But anyway, here's the point. The question, I know, I can tell. The point of it is are any of these people paid protesters?
I fucking knew it. I knew it. That 3 second pause can tell you that all the problem we needed to know. Fucking give a TED talk or some bullshit. Okay, look. So Bhima, that guy said more people I wanted to say. So does anyone have a response to that?
No, self-defense classes. They take shit like Krav Maga, BJJ, and shit like that. So they should be able to like hold the dude down without firing off a shot and detain him. You know, I think it shows lack of skill and professionalism to take somebody's life because a shot rang out from a gun that he didn't even have in his hand. I think that shit was weird.
Agree. I mean, Beamer's point is simply that like there's a difference between like resisting arrest and like protecting your body parts when you're being like smashed in the face with a pepper spray canister. Right?
You don't force to yourself to your knees again. You go face down, get your hands out, as I think it was Williams stated earlier. There's a prone position, and that keeps you from getting your face beat in. If it was me and I'm getting my face beat in, I'm putting my face to the ground and I'm covering my face with my head, just like if somebody were kicking.
That's easy ice to say, like hindsight, though. But when these things are happening, right? How many times have people done that, and their arms and shoulders have just been broken off? And I mean, like, there's just so many things. What do you mean?
You said without hindsight, because that's exactly what an officer is required to do, and what the law states is viewing it without hindsight. Now, you're an officer of the law. How many officers get shot in the line of duty a year? You don't know, but I'm going to guess it's all
starting to drift off topic again.
No, we're talking about law. He wanted to talk about the fact you weren't in proposition.
You know, there's a justification for the officer to act in their way. He had multiple points, multiple people touching him, grabbing him, pulling him in different ways, right? He just didn't have one direction. It wasn't just one person telling him what to do. It wasn't clear. It wasn't, okay, this is what I'm doing. It wasn't, get on, do you know what I'm saying? There was people coming from all over, and he has to, it's complete chaos in that moment.
Okay.
And I think that it's unreasonable.
What you're required to do by law. What he required.
It's not about what he's required to do by law. It's about what actually happens. Because, dude, when you're being jumped, when
the judge tells
all right, go ahead.
Do you know what the judge tells the jury before the case even starts? He explains the laws and how they are to view them and interpret the law. That's what the judge does. And so, why is that? Because they have to understand what is expected by the officer and what is expected by the person being apprehended. When you start to resist arrest, the laws start to change. I beg you to please go read the law. Don't interpret the laws, just read them.
You can have all the laws on the book. Sorry, Joe.
What is this guy?
Oh my God.
Look at other cases where cops got shot. What type of shit was that?
Okay, that's great, CM. But like, look, if we're gonna look, the point at issue is whether whatever was happening there counts as resisting arrest, right? And I still don't see it. I mean, you're saying that there's a very specific position you have to go into when the car. It's like it's like in kindergarten when they say crisscross applesauce, right? You cross your legs or you get sent to the principal's office. Like, no, I don't think that's. I suspect that's not quite how the law is supposed to be interpreted, right? Like, obviously there's behavior that's going to be clear to a jury and a judge as being resisting arrest, right? And there's another set of behaviors that like won't be, right? And from what I read in this description, it doesn't sound like he's resisting arrest, right? So he's down on the ground. He's protecting his body parts from getting smashed in with a pepper spray canister, right? At some point, his hands were pinned behind his waist, right? Now this other guy is disputing. He's saying he saw the video and he's saying that's not true. I mean, okay, it's his word against the New York Times, I guess, who's done a freeze frame on the whole video. But okay, whatever.
Look at my picture, and that's one of the freeze frames that they've done. They've shown this picture all over. You can see this is the point they started shooting, and you can see his right hand is free off the ground. It's reaching out towards the right side. On the left side, you cannot see.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm sorry, but one frame is hard to like. What am I supposed to be looking at? Like,
what you see in that picture, you see his back side with his right hand completely free, nobody's on it.
Look, I have no idea what I'm looking at. The problem is I've barely seen the video.
That's your evidence, bro? Are you serious?
That's a freeze frame that everybody is looking at.
It's not just a lid sticking out of like a boom tackle.
There's one person in that
I can't see.
It looks like two people, to be honest. It's two people on the right and left, and then Alex Brady in the middle.
Alex Brady is on his knees in the middle, yes, and he's his right arm reaching back. You can see the other arm standing up and they're starting to shoot. That's the point at which the gunshot started. They froze it there.
To give context, do you all understand how hard it is to get shot by the police coming from someone who's had a gun on a police officer?
This is not police. This is like, yeah, but this is not police, though. This is ICE.
Federal office.
I'm pointing out right there.
Yes, but they may not have the training as the military, as the Minnesota police do.
Not that the police have amazing amounts of training all the countries.
So okay, even if we're going off the context of so you want to play semantics, federal versus local police?
No, I don't get it. I want to play the game of categories of people matter, right? Like ICE is not, like the military is not the police for good reason, right? We don't send the freaking Marines in whenever someone's house gets robbed. They don't have the training to know how to deal with that.
That's not their jurisdiction, sir.
It's not that they don't have the training, right?
It's not their fucking jurisdiction.
Not that the police have either, honestly, but they're supposed to at least.
And that was a poor example because most Marines flow into law enforcement, so that was a very poor example.
This is part of the problem. Yes, this is part of the problem of policing in this country.
Gosh.
And the Marines go into cities all the time. They did it all throughout Iraq. I mean, they do
in a war zone. Yes, in war zone. Yeah.
So Deepak, let me ask you something, sir. Do you appreciate the quality of life America gives you?
Yes.
Right. You know that's based on the law. You know that quality is preserved by law, right?
Yes. I'm very much in favor of a rule of law and not in favor of paramilitary forces under control of the federal government. The kind of thing that I thought libertarians told us to watch out against, right?
Well, none of that stuff comes from the G20s. Law enforcement trains by the theory of having to operate one level of violence above what the target or what needs to be neutralized is operating.
The fuck kind of principle is that? Where is that?
Maintain law.
That might be a fantasy version. Look, that might be a fantasy version of GDE and law enforcement bullshit, right? That's not how law enforcement is usually been understood in civilized Western countries.
Persons and refusing to comply means that at that
it's
point
more
they
than
are
just
legal
law
and
and order.
That might be your fantasy.
That is beyond idiotic to employ that kind of behavior as a concealed fire.
Yes, you are. Yeah. And you talk about appreciating the rule of law in which this country was founded, right? You are prime example, sir, of not appreciating the history at all. How you got to the country, you neither understand nor deserve.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you are a prime example of someone not understanding, right, what the country, the principles of the country was founded on, right? That you neither understand nor deserve.
So, sir, I understand. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So Deepak, so I'm just going to run with you a little bit on the training thing. So it's a different type of training that they both do, and there's both on-the-job training and all of that both do, right? So knowing that the Minneapolis PD is better trained to keep the public safe in those situations when ICE is trained for deportation actions, where does the obligation lie for the security of the people on the streets? And that means whether it's federal agents, it doesn't matter, anybody on the streets of Minneapolis, where does the obligation lie for safety?
What specific, you're saying who's responsible?
Where is the obligation for safety for the people on the streets, every single person on the streets and on the sidewalks, who holds the obligation for their safety?
That's a great question, Ice, because this brings me to a confliction. Okay, because I don't think that we need to ask permission to protest, right? I don't think any power that is corrupt is going to give you an opportunity, give you the blueprint on how to take it down. Okay, but with that being said, I do know that is why we largely put in permits to protest, because it's for the cops to come out and your local police to protect you, protect the citizens, protect everybody else. And I feel that ultimately, right, and I think ultimately that's what failed here. We can, I'm upset about Alex Preddy. I'm upset about Renee Good. I think this is really new territory that we're what is it called? Traversing right now, right? And so I think ultimately it's really about where do we want to go as a people? Like, we're America, okay? We're supposed to be the best country in the world, okay? We have morals. We don't need to be. That didn't need to happen. And there's better ways for us to do everything, but also not to just say, hey, don't protest. So listen, no, that's good. It's good. And I get frustrated by everybody that is particularly the right. And excuse me, this is very frustrating as somebody who was, built up and, I based my career. I was all right. I was a Republican. 10 years ago, the Republicans weren't talking this. Republicans, we were hanging out, bringing weapons, fully, max to the teeth, loaded but to protest. This was our Constitution. This is what we were meant to do. I'm happy that our American public is showing out. They're protesting and they're saying, hey, look, because listen, we have a system, but sometimes the course of action, right, of stopping what some people perceive to be harm and then actually stopping the policy, it's difficult, right? Why do we protest? Specifically, we have the ICE goes, it's right under the control of the presidency, right? So what are our options? Free speech, assembly, petition the government. So what do? We protest. That's going to influence public opinion. Public opinion is supposed to influence our elections. Then the legislators are supposed to, respond to them. That's a long process. It's a good thing that we have our citizens coming out and protesting. I'm happy, right? But let's regulate that in a way that is not regulated through violent force, okay? But regulated through, okay, let's figure out better ways to organize. So it just didn't need to happen. Whether it's we put it on our the local jurisdiction, the mayors, the governors, that they should have been out there. They should. Even your county executive. My county executive goes to any little thing that's popped up. That's all he does all day. He's been to every single protest. It doesn't matter how big or small. He shows up. He makes sure everybody's protected. That stuff should have had. There should have been something else there, right?
And so exactly my point. And what we had is we had a governor and a mayor just really being, let's just call it anti this administration, so they didn't want to cooperate. Now, certain counties in Minnesota do cooperate and have said they work great. And actually, they've said they've gotten a little bitter because they want to take credit. ICE wants to take credit for it, but a lot of very violent people were handed over to them. Those counties, the sheriff said, no, we'll cooperate. Minneapolis was different, right? So we had that issue. Now, what happens is I throw this out there. There's a history in Minnesota, and we all know it. They burned a police precinct down. They've looted. They've literally set buildings on fire. They have burned cars. They pulled people from cars. They literally destroyed a federal vehicle, stole classified documents, stole weapons from a federal vehicle. We've watched all this happen just recently. And that's the difference. You just said it. The rights went out and protested, but they were peaceful and they had guns. They were loaded to the gills with guns. They were loaded to the gills with guns. And nothing happened. So this is my point. Hold on. I'm just about done. My point is, there's a very different, and the problem is the officials in every city and state should be very aware of the reality of what's going on. It was all over before these shootings happened. It was all over with these guys being pelted with ice balls, snowballs. They pour water on them, throwing things at them, pouring things on them, screaming at them, telling them they're going to kill them, telling them they were, going to beat their ass. All these things were going on for days. It's all over the news, social media, and yet they didn't do anything. But what they did is they came out and said, well, our police officers are more worried about preventing important things like murder. Well, 2 people died, and stores got beat to hell because ICE officers were inside. One, they thought, oh, ICE officers are in this hotel, and they beat the shit out of the hotel. Now, these are the things that if you have the police in the street, you start detaining people. Shortly after that, there was some place that they showed, like 750 people got detained. The cops said, there's enough of this. And guess what happened? Everything de-escalated. Okay, that's what we have to do. But we also have to admit we've got politicians who say things in office. Now, I'm going to use a standard that was set. You can look it up for fact checking, but Trump said peacefully and patriotically walked down to the cabinet. Now, some of those people became assholes. Some broke windows. Some did stupid shit. But I can disagree there. But they wanted to impeach him over that. They wanted to have all sorts of problems. But we literally had people on the other side saying, don't stop fighting. Take to the streets. There should be blood in the streets. We'll bury them under the Capitol. We will do this. You kick them. You chase them out of the restaurant. All of these things. In all of this, you have to ask. Hold on. I'm going to 2 more seconds. 5 more seconds. You just have to ask.
Why are you talking about January 6th right now, man?
There was a standard, is what I'm saying.
Let's get on the mic, brother.
You're literally having people in Washington, D.C. that can't get in trouble, telling the people in the streets, go do shit they shouldn't be doing. They can literally say, I didn't tell them to actually burn anything. I didn't tell them to actually kill anybody. So that's the difference. We have politicians that are fucking stoking the fires, and the people are paying the consequences.
Yo, Bima, you understand that from what I interpreted, unless I misconstrued what you said, you kind of just word salad your way to admitting that was the result of the left's impulsive ass actions. And going forward, what I challenge you to do is, because you never hear this amongst you law enforcement detractors, you never mention not even one. You would think most of y'all would have like the shock value and brand name of Laken Riley. Remember that name? Beautiful smile, beautiful future. Riley was all never. You guys never. I get it, Freddie, when they did that was like supposed to be a George Floyd martyr and it failed. But just have some unbiased respect. Mention some of the other people who were like good contributing members of society and not purposeful agitators of the fucking protests.
Yeah, I don't think that's
why they're out there.
Yeah, I don't think that that's fair at all. I think that's fair. I don't think that you're being, and take it for what it's worth. But I don't think that that's. I can't even deem you to be credible, right? Because what you're telling me is that one, you know that these people have only gotten a paycheck and that they cared zero about what was actually happening. You were able to be in their brain. You have all these magical powers. Hold on. One second. So you have all these magical special powers that nobody else does, where you could be in the mind of these individuals and you're able to mind read because you're so special about what their intent was and what they were trying to do. That's dishonest. There have been many people. Hold on, wait a second. And especially in a sanctuary state. Guess what, sir? I'm in a sanctuary state. Do you know we have all of our Republicans right now? Hold on. Well, sure. Well, because I'm not a bootlicking statist, okay? Right. Well, listen. Well, that might not be the exact argument for myself. But okay, yeah. But the point is that don't try to. You're going to discredit yourself by pretending to mind read and say that they're. Well, absolutely, because because it's not a logical argument to claim that they're just sitting there and then you use these words, right? These dishonest words to say an agitator. Well, I'll explain. You use the word agitator. Do you know that's a specific word? That's a specific adjective that's being specifically used from one side. And you're talking about being objective. No, sir. No, it's true. Because listen. Okay. Well, you keep listen. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you, and I can't fight. I can't fight over you. So go ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak and get whatever you have to out, and then I hope that you can give me time to respond.
We appreciate you being a good orator, all right? But stop. It's not even a fucking rhetoric.
Focus on the argument, sir. Focus on the argument. All you're telling me is you don't like what I I'm saying, so stop. And you're interrupting, so clearly you're uncomfortable. If you can't be civil interlocutor, then step out, sir.
Go ahead.
So that's my point. To claim that you have special powers of what their intent was or what they were doing. There are plenty of people that are very passionate about this, that have been passionate about this for the past 20 years. This isn't something that's new. The only reason that I believe, this is my personal opinion, because it just makes a lot of sense, is that there's going to be more of this in the news right now because of the increase in the activity, just like anything else. When you add something, when you add more fire to the flame, more fuel to the flame, there's going to be more situations, and it's going to be, it just brings naturally more eyes are going to be on it. We've increased, DHS announced January 3rd of 2026 that they've increased ICE agents. We have the most manpower ever in the history, 120% increase. We went from 5,000 to 7,000 agents the year prior to 25,000 agents. Okay, there's a lot more activity. Okay, and that's just in 1 year. So it just makes sense that the public is going to be more, especially sanctuary states. And when you have a sanctuary state, what is a sanctuary state? This is federal state power. This is the territory that I'm talking about. Like you're talking like these people are your enemies, and that's what I think is a sickness. It's an illness. The people, everybody in the United States, whether you want to call the left ill and the left sick, the left calls the right sick and ill. I think you both are sick. I think you both are sick because you don't want to sit there. We can't have solutions, and you don't reduce what's happening down to some basic principles and then just stick to them. You get so caught up in your identity with your political parties that you want to tote your political party over, and you're both so performative. The left and the right are so performative, using dishonest descriptions, right? Where are the objective people where we could sit here, we could really look, okay, what actually happened? Where does America want to go now? When we have a sanctuary state, when we don't want our police to cooperate with ICE because those people, that's the constituents of that state, right? Well, that's representative. This is what the people want. The people say, hey, look, we don't mind that these people are here, right? Well, come and take the criminals, that's fine. But for everything else, we're going to expect prioritization and proportionality. And if we don't see that, we're going to protect our neighbors.
And I agree with you. There's a lot. Like I was outright pissed the first time when Chrissy Noem ran out and said something after the grenade. Shut up. You should come out and say, hey, there's an ongoing investigation. It's what they always say. They don't say anything. She did. And then she did it again in the second one. And I'm just like, you're an idiot. It causes more problems. The best thing you do is you act like a civil adult and say, we will have a statement. We are just learning of this. I'm not the freaking head of Department of Homeland Security, but I'm going to tell you what I would have said. We're investigating this. I wasn't on the ground. I will be reviewing all video footage, getting statements from people on the ground, and we will have a statement as soon as possible for you. Simple as that. Don't play the political bullshit game as she tried to play it. Hated it with a passion. I moved from South Dakota. I didn't mind what she did there. But what she did those two shootings, I looked at her and I said, you're a dumbass. You don't immediately defend. You literally have to be, no colored glasses, no blindfolds. Let's watch and let's see what happens. That's the way that both of those situations should have been handled from her. They failed miserably, both sides, as you say. Play it, and right now it's more divisive than it's ever been. Joe Manchin has talked about this. Bill Maher has talked about this. There's a reason him, Andrew Yang, and others who've ran as Democrats for president have said that they've drifted from that side. We've also watched some people on the right become pain in the asses on their side. And what we need is to have more common ground. Look at John Fetterman. This man is putting a freaking target on his back. Why? Because he says it. It's country over party. This is nonsense to call each other Nazis and all those fascists and everything else. We have one guy that's standing up loud and proud saying, that's enough. And you know what? Maybe he should run because you know what? He'll get independent votes. He'll get Democrat votes. He might even get some Republican votes because everybody's sick of the division. Both sides are. I think everybody could admit that.
Big, I appreciate the gynocentric viewpoint. You know, it's very
right, people, when they sit and have a conversation, would be like, well, you're not as far right as I thought. No. The law is the law. If you want it changed, you go to Congress and you get it changed. You start.
Or you overturn it. You challenge it.
And here's the deal. You don't do it in the streets by threatening to kill people. The funny thing is you have people yelling about ICE with masks on while they're wearing masks. Well, ICE isn't coming to your house and just arresting Bima or Bob or Joe or me or Abby or anybody else. What are they going after? One thing. But guess what those protesters are doing? They're literally getting people's numbers, addresses, and doxing them.
No, they're recording your pictures via Palantir software, and they're getting your face biometrics and putting it on a list.
Yeah, and we also have the evidence that they were using Signal, and the fact is there was a guy, his name was, I believe, Alex Q, who was summoned to that position 15 minutes prior. He got it. Before that, Alex Q was very active on Signal on that group chat. Since the day of his shooting, since the time of his shooting, moments before, Alex Q, I'll be there in 10 minutes, I think he said on his last message. Since he's been shot, Alex Q is no longer messaging. There's issues with that. They were literally running plates, doing those things. That's not okay. It's all going to come to light. We can't have protests like that. I'm with you. Take to the streets and do it right. Hell, Martin Luther King, look at the shit that was said to him and done to him. What did he do? March peacefully. He was leading by an example. You don't think he had anger? You don't think he had frustration? Oh, hell yes, that man did. But he knew you don't win that way. Start showing compassion. Somebody calls you that freaking nasty freaking name, you just, I love you, brother. And just keep walking. And you know what? He got more done than anybody because he finally had the balls to say, I gotta be the bigger man.
So let me be the angel advocate here. I'm going to challenge you on it because I feel, as I'm going back to the theme of the room, whether Trump is evil or etc., the compassion I feel has been overrated right now because, as they say, woke is dead. Being compassionate, empathetic is dead, right? I'm of the opposite mind. I believe in empathy and compassion. But what I've seen in this world, which is why the people are divided, right, is because the leaders of today, whatever side you are on, is driving the narrative that I hate you, you hate me. And the one thing that resonated with me one day was when Trump said, well, God says love your neighbor, but I say hate them. He said something, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. And if you're getting that from the top down, you're only going to spread the sickness. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, like Obama encouraged guys to fucking marry each other.
Hey, I'm not in their life. What I am is I've got 3 children that I need to raise in this country, right? And I need them to understand what compassion is. Because what I do believe, and this is just from my spiritual belief, is that it says, and this comes from me, saying we have to love one another. And by love is the greatest power to produce change. Whether, because if we're both in a boat that is about to sink, we all go down together, or we figure a way to fix it.
People say if you take a more staunch stance on who they follow, have them follow some gay sympathizer ain't gonna turn out nothing good.
See, I taught my daughter to understand politicians are corrupt and they're fucked up and they'll kill people just to stay in power. And that's kind of the people we want to be running our country because it's ruthless to rule the world. And it takes a narcissistic person to be able to do what they have to do to run the world. And every politician is exactly the same. I taught my daughter to look for people that show empathy in that realm and not to idolize people like sports stars, rock stars, politicians. I didn't rely on the fact that the president of the country is supposed to be empathetic, even though they lie, cheat, steal, and murder, and have for our entire life, and probably the entire life of this country.
Yeah, so every politician is not evil, sir. Just go ahead and start with Abraham Lincoln, who after the Whig Party went ahead and deceived Congress to pass the 13th Amendment, take a blot on his presidential legacy. Pretty upstanding sounding gentleman. Yeah.
I'll give you the best response. Sure.
Yeah, but he believed in the separation of the races, even though he did the emancipation. He did not believe in equality.
Exactly. All right. So, I don't really think that's a viable argument. I think that's what is it, anecdotal. Given what his presidential legacy reflects, you, ma'am, would be discredited.
No, I'm not discredited. He did say it in writings, what he felt about Negroes, as he would say in parentheses at that time, right?
Ma'am.
No, I'm not. I'm a reader.
She's absolutely
He
right.
did
She
say
is absolutely right.
Ma'am.
she's not wrong.
So, Jesus Christ. See, some of y'all can't be written in the book of life. But anyway, so at that period of time, what's considered a cultural norm that's not taboo. We're not talking about something that was anywhere near present tense societal measure of what it would be now seen as. That was the fucking cultural norm. Jesus Christ, he blotted his presidential legacy to free what was still considered 3/5 of fucking humans. I don't give a fuck what he wrote. His actions have the merit. And personally, if you look at the history of the numbers of slavery, the foundational blacks, most of us are very convoluted, claiming African shit that does not pertain to us. And fucking all the Bible reiterates this. The numbers, our numbers that were affected, are extremely low. Extremely much lower than what they've been taught to you and personified as in fucking school.
If you read the history books, though, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was about the preservation of the Union.
Well, my point was that our politicians ain't evil. And this nation, the liberties we have, we enjoy. The reason why, there's a fuck ton of us from all different walks of life that all want to be here, grateful to be here, is because of those men and the ideals that they had.
It was also about the expansion of the Union.
Those are nuances that are, attached to this great vision.
Just don't be so content with it. I think that's if I were to give you any constructive criticism, I know you didn't ask for it, and I know you definitely won't likely consider it or care what I have to say. But it's frustrating when so many people don't think that there's better ways that things could be done, and that we can have better solutions, we can have more peaceful solutions versus constant violent back force always. If we were, and if you believe in all of the things that you're saying about this nation, you understand that it's been an evolution from the very first document, from the Declaration of Independence. Okay, that was a set of principles that superseded the ideals of the time, the practicality of that time, and abolitionists, women's rights. We look to that to continue to push for the principles that all human beings are created equal with unalienable rights by their creator to life, liberty, and happiness, right? And so what I would invite everybody to do is not be content. Know that likely there's a lot of things that we're doing wrong today, that we're going to, in 25 and 50 years, we're going to look back at 100 years and say, wow, right? The next generations are going to say, what were they doing? What was grandpa doing? All that they just sat back and let that happen? That's incredible, because we're going to be at hopefully such better places. Keep pushing for better options, for more reasonable options. We have to stop the tribalism and stop looking at everybody as our enemies. If you want to categorize somebody as your enemy immediately, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, because you're not being honest with yourself. Because you're saying that our neighbors here, culturally, we actually want to harm each other, and we know that that's not true. We know that we all are human beings. We get up. We have our little issues. We got our health concerns. We got our family. We got the kids. We got the career. We just want to live, love, for the short little time that we have, praise God, take our gifts, and continue, just like everybody else. So how can we maximize that for everybody and not cause harm? And just coming out and, oh, shouldn't have protest. So look, there's so much division. Where can you, what I would ask you to do, if you were to make a claim about anything, learn to falsify your claims. Like create null hypotheses instead of statements, and then sit with that and present it to a room so you don't get yourself in an echo chamber.
Dima, that's literally the definition of having a gynocentric outlook. That's not the reality of the country, of our poise and magnitude and sphere of influence. I'm willing to die on this following fucking hill that this is all partially fucking laden in that pure, putrid hatred for the reemergence of definitive, lawful, order-following, statute-imputing, white, Christian, straight, staunch masculinity coming back. The return law and order. I swear to God, this is partially laden in that shit. Years ago, when Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice were trotting around, y'all don't have fuck. There weren't this many hyper-focused fucking geopolitical overnight wizards. Now everybody's fucking got a fucking digestible take on how the Trump administration is making 45 fucking mistakes from Monday. You know, fuck that. I'm dying on this hill. I might sound crazy, but fuck that.
I don't know why you keep saying gynocentric. Like, you don't think that, like, logic is
Everyone deserves the chance. Everyone deserves the chance. That's not reality, man.
So hold on. We're not talking about reality. We understand how oppressive and tyrannical and authoritarian people and human beings can be, right? Especially people that even in a conversation and are exposed to the idea and a reflection with a mirror shock. Hey, look, you're being a little, you're contradicting your own statements, okay?
Man, you understand real time there are conglomerates that hate each other's guts, but to oppose us will work together. We're facing almost destabilization of our fucking dollar. Saudi Arabians didn't renew that contract that fucking, his name escapes me. What was his name? It wasn't Carter. That they do their business deals in the dollar, the reserve contract.
Petrodollar.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. They didn't renew that. Like, I mean, you're talking as if we have the luxuries and liberties of like the fucking, 80s or 90s, or where maybe the economy was just a little bit more forgiving and things were nicer. So there weren't certain things looming on the horizon here. I'm not even talking from the perspective of considering Iran imminent, which I don't. I don't think it's imminent. I think it's retarded that we even. No, we're not. There's no way we're going to war. It's too much mutually assured destruction on too many facets. But anyway.
But isn't that the point? I'm just going back to what Peter Thiel, who's the money man behind all of these people, and which is why I think this shit is evil, is because Peter Thiel's philosophy, who funded J.D. Vance and one of the biggest donors behind Trump, he has a very different philosophy that he doesn't believe in competition. He believes in power. And power is his ultimate goal because he doesn't believe in sharing. There's a philosophy that he's behind. This is not speculation. You got to read his mimic theory, right? He believes that everybody wants to be great, and he believes that everybody wants to mimic. And you can Google mimic theory by there's a French philosopher that Peter Thiel follows. I think René Girard is his name. But one of the things that he believes is that power is not something that can be shared, but it's by differentiation. And those who have the power make the rules. And that's why the billionaire class, or you can call it the Epstein class, whatever you want to call it, they're the ones that are allowing for the destabilization, because the key piece is the more stable it gets, the more power they're able to grab, because they have their assets and their money and different resources than where we have it.
That's a good concise take. I give you that. By the way, I want to apologize. I wasn't trying to overtalk you or interject. I feel like I was kind of overhogging the mic, so I'm doing kind of listening type of. That was a good take, though, Ms. Beaver. concisely said too. I like that.
But I still believe in hope and love, right? I'm like Bima. I have this internal optimism, but as I look at the reality of the money, and even if you read the Epstein files and their intent to create destabilization in regions, when regions are destable, it's up for grabs for whatever money goes in there. So like Venezuela, it wasn't the small companies or little business people that went in there. It was the big money people that went in there so that they can go ahead and export. And that's why I look at the money. As much as people may advocate for Trump, I'm not against one side or the other. I don't have derangement syndrome. I have a class issue. Maybe that's my concern. And when the access it begins to become very difficult for average citizens that are not in the 1%, and I say average citizens because that can range, then we are no longer allowed to play. We're not going to be part of the game.
So I think good concise type, man. You got some good types. I like that. Very, very pop and astutely delivered.
I agree.
Voice too. I give you that too. I say you got voice.
Unlike some.
And kind of centric views, kind of.
Yeah. Mike is on you, Alex.
Sorry, did I miss something?
We're waiting for your logical mic that you have, Ice. You seem to have a balanced opinion on many things.
I didn't hear the very last couple things you guys were talking about. I was in the chat, so I apologize. I wasn't really focused. So.
I guess it goes back to the theme of the room. Maybe Trump is evil. Changed my mind.
Yeah, I don't think he's evil. I just think he's brash. I think he's, he uses the same tactics, and they work. I mean, after Davos, you had two political leaders who do not like Trump, openly stated that they're not fans of his, but they said that they needed Trump to do this because Europe doesn't want America's fingers meddling in their business, but yet we want them to pay the bill. And it's time that Europe stands on its own 2 feet. Two separate leaders said that. And I was like, finally, this is all Trump wanted. He wanted them to start, hey, we can't carry the heavy load for everybody for all over the world. And then you're like, wait, you guys aren't the world police. You want us to be. You want us to be the world's, uncle handing out the money. So, for me, I think there's the brashness of which he's always done things. And he comes out and says wild things. But in reality, he knows I'm only going to get part of that. But if I start really freaking crazy, they think they're winning, So I think that's what he does. And he's not a great speaker, so he just kind of goes with some snide-ass stuff, and that's where he is. So I think he's evil? No. I mean, I think he showed some compassion with some things he's done with other families. If you watched the speech today, this man is paying for a woman that nobody even knows to have cataract surgery that was there. This guy does compassionate things. But he doesn't want people to know he's got a soft side. He wants to be this big tough guy, which I think is dumb. I think it's good to show the soft side once in a while. But it's Trump. That's just who he is. So, I mean, he's a brash asshole who I think sometimes it's funny when he comes up with the nicknames, but then there's other times it's completely inappropriate. It's just like, dude, just stop. So do I think he's evil? Absolutely not. He's got all the money, whatever needed. He really thought it would be easier I can clean this up. I know it's broke because he was part of it. He's admitted that. Yeah, I know exactly what the loopholes are. We need to close them, you know? That's finally something that was said. Name another politician that has said that, you know? We need that. But the problem is we've talked about this earlier in the room. The corruption is so deep. You have people coming in, and if they're broke, and in a few years, they're worth $8 million. You got one who started a wine company who's only made one bottle of wine that's called Devil's Lies, but you can't even buy, and it's worth $15 million or whatever. It's like, this is what's happening. These guys, yeah. And then the other one was worth $8 million, and they asked her, you were in the negative when you got here. Can you tell us how you're worth $8 million now? She refused to respond. She just kept walking. And I was just like, this is on both sides. There's a lot of wealth that's being generated. And I just want to say, Martha Stewart's poor ass, she just got, okay, you can call it insider trading, but somebody says, yo, shit's about to dump. Wouldn't all of us then say, fuck, I got to save myself? Well, look what the Pelosi's did. Bought a bunch of NVIDIA before they pulled the deal off for the government. Then, after they got a whole shitload of hell about it, they held on to it for a long time. But then all of a sudden, just before they're like, okay, fine, we'll make you happy, they sell theirs. And a few weeks later, NVIDIA tanks. Don't think that they had some inside information because there were some things that happened with the contracts with the government. You don't think they knew. We let politicians get away with it on both sides. And in my opinion, every single person that starts gaining net wealth, we need to be looking at, why did you do that? I don't think a single politician should be allowed to invest. Their close immediate family and people in their extended family should not be allowed to be investing in anything that they are voting on or passing legislation on, passing bills that might be giving contracts out. Because guess what? I'm going to call up my friend Ravella. I don't know how you say her name. I hope I get it right. But hey, here's the deal. I can't do this, but you put in $200,000 and Lockheed Martin would be worth $2 million in 12 months. We can't have that happen. It's time that we put our foot down. We need a legit Doge.
They do have laws against that, but the problem is that it's difficult to track. Like, you can't tell who knows what, when, where, why, and how, unless you track every phone call, everything that every person knows, and every person knows.
Actually, Shai, that has changed. The Foreign Corrupt Practices and the corruption offices in the current administration have now closed down. People have stepped down, and there's no enforcement. The FCPA or any type of corruption is right now being squashed at DOJ. That is a fact. You can research it.
No, that's fine. But the point is, people act like what all the things that happened under Trump in the past, one year have been happening for the entirety of America. And that's not the entirety of America. That's a small glimpse in American history, right? It's a blip on the map of American history. And things can go back. This is I don't care that certain things changed recently. I care that what the overall character of the state has been over time. People really need to stop doing that. It's Trump became.
I never said that. I just said the current state of the corruption laws have now. But the laws.
It wasn't happening. There's always corruption in every system, right? Because systems
always.
Because systems are made by men, and the issue with is
and
that
not women, of course. We women.
Some women make some systems, but also the reality of it is the aspect of the corruption happens through the fact that people look at the system, they try to figure out how to game the system, and they perfect a gaming of the system, which allows them to benefit where other people have not found this gaming of the system.
Very interesting. I find it interesting.
Hold on. So I just want to bounce off what he just said. So, and what you just said. So it's been changed, right? But has anything stopped or was anything prevented before that? No. We know for a fact, if you look in the past 10, if you follow for the last 10, 15 years compared to 20, 25 years ago, and you see this steady climb that's still beating hedge funds. But if you look over the last 10 years, 12 years, holy hell, it's skyrocketed. So what was in place didn't work. And if you don't shut it down, just like the education system, we're spending more money than anybody per child. Why aren't we going to the places that are leading and saying, what are you doing different? Let's do it that way. That's how you make changes. I'm sorry, but the federal government blew up and it wasn't getting better. Things become bogged down. I think it was Mark Cuban who said, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but I think he was like, you got a dollar coin. And this is Cuban, who's a Democrat. He says, you give the Democrats this dollar coin and tell them they got to sell it for 50 cents. It's going to take them 6 months or whatever he said to get a committee together to figure out how they're going to sell it for 50 cents. He goes, then you give it to Donald Trump and say sell it for $2. He just sold it, And what he's saying is the system is bogged down. When you get more people in all the time, everything just keeps growing. Government doesn't have to grow. Government doesn't always have to create laws. Government doesn't have to keep the laws on the books. The things that are killing us is all the red tape. They asked every Fortune 500 company that left, why did you leave? Taxes, number one. Number two, regulations. Two things that we keep wanting to force on them. But the beauty of it is they go to a country that has no regulations, no emissions, but we're still going to buy their stuff there. In America, you got to be clean, but we'll buy it if you go over to China and do it. And
but people are
still buying stuff.
People in China are wearing face masks because of the amount of smoke and pollution that they have in their cities. Right? If you go into like Chicago, a main city, developed city in America, you don't have to wear a face mask to cover your face from all the local pollution. I mean, there was one point you had to, right, in like Los Angeles, or you probably should be in Los Angeles and probably New York and places like that. But because of regulations, people don't have to do that. A lot of it is about also caring about the environment. The government has a stake in the environment and the preservation of the environment. That's why they have certain laws regarding that. As far as school goes, Americans have the American child, right? You can go somewhere in like Alabama or Oklahoma, and you will see that they have a better or higher standard of living than most people in other countries, most children in other countries, right? Including China, including Russia, including Saudi Arabia, maybe not Saudi Arabia, but they're also working on a different like reality. That's the reality of America. America has a vested interest in maintaining certain standards for certain people for all of the citizens, actually.
Well, that was a point, but again, I disagree. I only because I'm looking at the evolution of her. Like you said, I agree. Maybe we'll go back, but full transparency, we are decentralizing, and I'm okay with decentralization. I'm not a federalist in any way, but you're just centralizing the standards of education. And I agree with you, Ice, when you were speaking about Trump coming in and didn't want to foot the bill for the EU. But when you create an environment of animosity and you create an environment of tariffs, because the tariffs in the reality are a taxation against the citizens. It is not paid by the importer, it's paid by the importer, but not the seller in the other country. They are paid by the citizens of this country. And so what happens is that when you begin to blow up the rules-based system that we had, where we all agree, and that's the same standard that we have in the United States. We have a constitution that we agreed to go by. We have the checks and balance of the system. When you begin to challenge the checks and balance, whether it's the rule base of internal government or external government, you begin to shake the foundation, and there is no it becomes an us against them type of world. So what happens when we, of course, we're competitive and we were the best in the world, but we're not anymore. Let's just be full transparent. We're not producing the best cars. And the partnerships that are developing based on current paradigms, people are creating relationships and trade relationships that are going to exclude U.S. What happens, you think that we want people to go and do their own thing, but when they don't buy from us, what are you going to do? Threaten them with high tariffs of bombs? They will choose to go to other people. The reality is America's not understanding, and I'm an American and I love my passport, but I'm looking to go everywhere. But I'm seeing the reality as a person who sees this country and loves the country. but really concerned about the direction it's going in, whether it's this administration or the ones before. When you begin to isolate yourself and you believe to rely on isolationism and you refuse and you remove the competition where we become the best and the brightest in the world and you begin to put international students and you ban it's not just the bad immigration. The students are not wanting to come to this country. They're going to Canada. They're going to all the other countries. The key piece to the innovation that I believe from people coming in and pouring into our educational systems too, that we are now, we've never been number one, really, to be very transparent. We're like number 25 or even 40 on the educational list. And now the products that we have, we don't produce our own, but we can't produce everything. We're not going to go back to mercantilism because we begin to produce everything. We don't even have enough expertise in our own people to produce everything we want to do. So we'll go ahead and buy the semiconductor chips from Taiwan because that's the way the infrastructure does. And we try to manufacture t-shirts. Maybe let's bring that back here. But the competitive stuff, we're losing. And when we're looking at rare earths being produced, it's not that China produces it. They just learned how to refine rare earth minerals very good. We haven't decided to invest in that technology here in the United States, but instead we decide to go into Venezuela and hope that they got rare earths. But we make policies against countries that may have rare earth, but because of other issues so we got to look at what direction we're moving in and perhaps become a little bit mindful on these relationships that we don't up.
So there's something to that, but I know that the federal government in every country, right, has to think about the relationships that it has with other countries on all levels, right? So they are multifaceted issues with every country, and America, like every other country, has to make those types of decisions because countries don't work, like you said, in isolation. So the isolationists are wrong because everybody else in the world, like their economies are interwoven with one another, and they will continue to be interwoven with one another because no single country has everything that they need. So they have to borrow from this place and use this place to do some manufacturing and do some other stuff right here and there. As far as education goes, America's education issue is more so is individualistic. And if you look at the education system,
is it individualistic?
I'm sorry.
I don't think we're individualistic. We have a standard.
The American educational system compared to many other countries is very individualistic.
No, we don't have a global standard. That means, but we do. It's not.
Excuse me. There is a mandatory K through 12 education, right? Which means you have to educate your child, but you can educate your child at home. You have to make sure they meet certain criteria as far as reading and writing and arithmetic, those types of things, right? That's the foundation that's given to you by the state to ensure that you are educating your child. That is something that's mandatory. But you have vocational schools, you have various other facets of
we have that in other countries too.
Very, very seldomly.
No, Germany, you have it. You have the Realschule, you have the Hochschule, and then you have the university. You have the same thing in France. You have the traditional bac, you have the baccalaureate, you have the bac. You have different countries. In Japan, you have the same thing. A-levels, O-levels. It's different.
We're talking about these top schools or countries of schools, right, that you're talking about, which include Russia and China, which I was speaking about specifically, not Western Europe.
No, I said Japan and Singapore, they have O-levels, A-levels equivalent. So they're just as competitive. The standards about math, let me just be full. We're very weak and sad at math. We don't even know what geography.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And yet people from all of these other high-level countries are going to American universities.
No, they're not anymore. They're going to Canada.
They only have it in the past.
They're not coming here anymore.
You're talking about in the past couple of years. I'm not talking about in the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah, but there's a trend shift.
What those people did was that they went to America, sent their kids to America, learned how the systems work better, and then imported them into their countries. That's what happened. They learned from what America was doing. They copied it and actually, in some of those countries, they actually have satellite campuses for the top universities in America, so that they can still teach their kids.
But here's the funny part. They weren't American citizens that came here, though. See, if we were so good, we would be producing our own talent to that great level, right?
I'm not disagreeing.
And exporting our talent to other countries. So what I'm just saying,
allow me to finish. Hold on. You didn't allow me to finish my point. You just wanted to excuse me. I wanted to finish my point. The fact is, if you ever look at Chinese or Russian education systems, which are the highest in math and
yeah, I understand the rest.
Give me a second, Mel. Give me a second to let me finish. That you will see that their schools are hardcore factories, right? Their schools are hardcore factories. A fifth grader is doing high school level math and science in Russia and China that would compare it to a fifth grader in America. I mean, it's astronomically different, right? Those levels of math and the amount of homework that they get per night is astronomically different. Kids are going to school from 7 in the morning until 7 at night and then have 3 to 4 hours of homework at night. They're doing college level homework and they're being pushed into that direction very early in their lives, and that's across the board. And not everybody can handle it. And until recently, China had a very high level of suicide rate amongst its students. It's changed over the past decade or so, but it was extreme.
China and India actually are the top at sending students out. They all come to America. There was over 600,000 of them, I think they sent 1 year, just to give you an idea. So America's schools are still highly considered at the tops. I mean, when they send over, I think 1 million, I think it is, globally, but America is the #1 source for those. Those kids still come here and excel. There's a reason. There's the way that they've been raised to understand the education system, to respect the education system, to respect the education itself. #1. #2, to say that we're not a manufacturing superpower, you have to explain to me then how.
I never said we're not a manufacturing.
Well, you said we can't be.
No, we're not producing like we used to. To be very transparent. Our cars.
Hold on. When we talk about cars, that's where I'm going. You would have to explain to me how Germany, considered one of the best car makers in the world, has got Mercedes and BMW here. And actually, if you want to know the truth, BMW America is by far the largest manufacturing facility in the world.
You know why? Because we have.
Hold on.
It's because of the imports. I mean, import and export. It's because of the imports.
Okay, we export everything that's produced here. And you know what? We now, in America, BMW America makes the chips for the BMWs. And
because we're consumers.
BMW.
U.S. is the biggest consumer.
We export a fuck ton of BMWs.
Yes, but what's the country of origin? What's the country of origin, though? What's the country of origin on the goods? Because it's not all U.S. Because what you have to understand is we do a lot of the assembly. We manufacture. We're not doing all the finished parts here.
What Bavarian Motors Works facility by March 1 year broke the record in the history of the company for the most sold pre-sold BMWs.
That's an exception, though.
No, it's not an exception. It's been happening every year since. Okay, so
sure. What I'm saying is the BMW line of importing.
Let me finish. I let you roll.
Okay, go ahead.
BMW is now talking about having their transmissions made in America. So to say that we can't be leaders in the auto industry, you have to explain to me why BMW is so huge and saying we can do this here and we can now put the transmissions, have them made there. And you know what? Now I'm going to go a little bit further. Okay? They're proving that it works. They literally have tests to be able to apply. That's how many people they got wanting to work for them. Okay? So people will line up to build cars and they make money clearly. But we want to talk about tariffs. What are tariffs? We heard the Supreme Court say it. They're taxes.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? In math class, we're terrible. America's terrible at math. But if I put a 1, an equal sign, and a 1, I can interchange those, right? I can't put a 1 and a 2, but I can put 1 equals 1. And if taxes are tariffs, or if tariffs are taxes, then guess what? Taxes are tariffs. And we're okay tariffing a country in our own country to produce. We'll tariff our own country. Where does the taxes and the tariffs, who pays those? Oh, us as the consumer. It's a cost of building the products, right? So we're okay tariffing an American company, building in America, but we don't want to, we're going to take Apple, for instance. We will go ahead and let Apple leave because the taxes get too high. And they had a profit of $252 billion, of which zero was taxed. Now, they did a study on Greenville, South Carolina. If every person there spent $20 a week at a local mom and pop shop, okay? What is it, 60,000 people, Greenville, something like that? But they spend $20 a week at a mom and pop shop, a little cafe, the local hardware stores. They determined that it would bring an extra $300 million into the local economy because of the way it recirculates. That's just the people spending $20 a week. What do you think $252 billion recirculating in the U.S. economy? What would that equate to? So we let
It's not the same.
It is the same.
No, it isn't the same. Tariffs are a blanket. It's a blanket on a product. Now, taxation, the taxation of a corporation, when they do and build the facility, it's a different taxation of sales, generational sales. It's not tariffs.
When they sell the product.
Yeah, but when they sell the products, the sales of products is what's sold with Apple. They're sold.
We're going to sell a hair dryer.
Yeah, when you're selling that, that's sold. That's sales tax. That's sales tax within a region. So a state will have a sales tax. A city will have a sales tax. Every time I buy an Apple phone, it has a sales tax.
If the Fed raises the taxes, who the fuck pays it? Do you think
you're saying it differently? The Feds will raise.
I'm saying it very clearly.
No, actually, you're seeing the taxes differently. No, because tariffs and taxes, there are taxes on people, but they're applied in different ways. The importer pays the taxes on goods that come in, and that importer passes its cost onto the citizens, and that can be anywhere in the states, right? Anywhere. Whereas sales, when you're talking about Apple producing $200 billion worth of and not paying taxes, that have profit. Because they incorporated themselves. First of all, they're incorporated, I think, in Delaware. But when they do their sales structure, what was going inside and how they structure it, they probably got a sales entity in the EU, which captures most of their international sales.
Where you missed is you didn't listen to everything I said. Their overseas profit was $252 billion.
That's the point.
In the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the difference. Every country, every company.
Simple back and forth. You've never let me even finish, so this will be a simple back and forth. So I'm okay doing that with you. $252 billion. Let's just say that American companies, they don't pay a fair share. What's their fair share? Do you know what they pay? What would Apple pay on taxes? What would their tax share burden be on $252 billion in profits?
You're still missing the point because
No,
tariffs. No, because they're going to have an incorporation outside.
They're doing it on purpose.
No, I'm not doing it on purpose because I don't think you're seeing. No, taxes and tariffs are two different. They're still taxes, but they're not applied the same way.
The Supreme Court said
they didn't say they're applied the same way. I said taxes are tariffs, but they roll down to the consumer. Taxes on a company. Taxes on the company is taxes on the company.
Yeah.
Tariffs are taxes on the citizens and the consumers of that company.
Okay.
Of that country.
And Apple is incorporated in California, so there's a lot of misinformation going on.
Yes, but they're incorporated. You can have an incorporation, but their legal entity, I believe, has the Delaware courts because of the tax structure in the United States. You can break it down. A lot of companies in Silicon Valley.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Our taxes cost of doing business. Bottom line.
Yes.
Thank you. That's my point. And when I have a business and I look at that, I look at my profits and I said, shit, I got to pay more taxes. Guess what I do to my prices? All my buildings, every single one of them goes up. Why? I'm not eating.
That depends on market forces. Can you raise your price and still sell your product?
Everybody is.
The point
in the industry.
The point to our long rambling thing that you completely failed on is the fact that the tariffs have brought in $5 trillion in jobs and infrastructure, manufacturing.
Give me your evidence.
Don't interrupt me. Let me finish. You have impulse control.
Spilling facts.
You have impulse control because you know
But I just need when you're spilling stuff, give me facts.
Well, I need to know.
manufacturing plant in the United States. And you know what? Oh, that might even be expedited because guess what? A steel plant closed in the United States, which means instead of going somewhere else, they might be able to buy that one and start selling it. Oh, so it might not be 5, it might not be.
Yeah, that was just he's claiming 20 of the pledges. It's 5 trillion deals signed, including $500 billion for TOC to come over here and make chips in the state of Arizona. Look it up. I don't have to provide my receipts. Go look it up.
Yeah, I know TMC. It's in Arizona. That I'm familiar with. Full disclosure, I work for Google, but I'm a professor in the daytime too. So you can look at me. So I know that.
Well, you're jumping all over me, going prove it. I'm telling you the facts. $5 trillion in deals came out of Trump floating these tariffs and causing American jobs to be created. A tariff is not a tax. The Supreme Court did not rule it a tax, and I can prove they didn't rule it a tax. If Abby's still in the room, I bet you she'll back me up on the law of the ruling, just like she backed me up the last time we had a
Not really. She didn't back me up ruling, but
she completely backed me
no,
up.
she didn't.
But anyway,
go ahead.
They didn't rule that a tax is a tariff. The tariff is not directly a tax to the American citizen in every
I said to the
single
consumers.
case. It's not. If the market forces can get the raised price, they're going to raise the price and pass it on. If they can't, they won't. It's not happening across the board.
And right now, with the economy struggling, because it's struggling more than people believe it is, and it has been for years now.
By what measure?
What's that?
By what measure?
When we just look at the spending, when we look at what the GDP is, when we look at
GDP is up. It was up to 4 something. They're predicting that Atlanta Fed says it's going to go 5, maybe 6.
Right.
Okay.
It's been
wages are up 4.4. Wages are up 4.4.
Right.
The CPI is down. It was 2.7 at the end of the quarter. It's dropped to, I think it's 2.4 right now. Unemployment's a bit higher. It dipped very, very minor. But by what measure are you saying the economy's messed up?
Okay, let's go to the decline, because I'm going to go back to the manufacturer decline. Yes, we declined in 2025 and 2026 at the very beginning. So from let's do the whole year. The prior year, 2025, job losses were between April 2025 and December 2025. All the way to that time, we lost about 72,000 to 108,000 jobs, right? So there's a stagnant job growth too. So you can't say they created jobs, because when the economy is slightly declining, you're not creating jobs. That's why you have the market. That is why you have the market that you do have. Because the tariffs also create a strain and availability of cash by the companies that